Hello, guys, and welcome to today's episode of Gareth Monologues. I have given this podcast that name for now. We shall see if it sticks. Just bear with me on that one. But I just wanted to say thanks so much for some of the awesome feedback that I received last week of just doing a podcast by myself. It's quite a kind of hairy thing to do. I also know that it's really important to hear so many other people's opinions on things in terms of like my guests and stuff. But I thought I would do another one this week and then kind of resume schedule with guests from next week and probably keep the show going every couple of weeks and then a guest interview every other week as well. So yeah, and then ultimately the goal will be to have my own studio here where I am now and have a more frequent guest list, and then perhaps even the show kind of carries on as well. Maybe they become two separate things. I have no idea how it's going to go, just kind of keeping an open mind. But it's actually been quite helpful for myself to sort of start writing out my thoughts a little bit and seeing what I can share with the world. You know, maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it makes you like me more or less. Could be either one, but that's also cool. I think it's really important that we have different opinions in this world, and we talk about these things. That's kind of one of the main reasons that I'm now doing these sort of podcasts. So yeah, I just am grateful for anyone that's listening, or watching, whatever your favorite medium is. So off the back of last week's podcast, I received such a great message from one of my friends. And one thing, however, stood out for me was that they said that they have started to kind of distance themselves from people that have different political views. And this being friends and family, right? So yeah, that's, I think that's also not the right way for us to go. Okay. And I'm definitely no saint when it comes to this, right? Like I find it's probably just as challenging as the next person to try and understand somebody that sees the world differently to me and has different views on things and opinions. But this is not a bad thing. This is actually quite an important thing. However, what's happened in our world is that we've become so sort of cultish in our political views that we are now becoming so massively divided, and it's really not a helpful thing at all. We just literally mustn't let this happen, because the world is in a state that it is now, which doesn't seem that great, because we are so divided, right? And political views is just one of those. And there's all other things too, religion and gender and this and that. And it's just becoming, they're just fragmenting us into these smaller and smaller and smaller little groups that none of us see eye to eye. And that is just not helping any of us. It's why we're sort of starting to feel this little bit of sort of enslavement, because we're not coming together and pushing against the forces that are kind of doing this to us. So yeah, it's a really difficult one, but it's something that we have to really overcome. And yeah, the best way that I think we can do this is, especially when it comes to friends and family, is to, well, you can either avoid the discussion completely, which is totally okay, right? Because these sort of talking points can become very heated because people are emotional and they do have strong views. And also people are not good at arguing, and therefore they'll start saying names, calling you names, or just being nasty or swearing at you, or whatever the story is, So in my opinion, the best way to actually resolve a lot of these things is to just ask questions. And I feel through asking questions, you can quickly kind of dismantle somebody's argument or get to realize that they've thought about something. But often the case is that when you ask, say, why, like once, twice, three times, by the time you've asked why three times, the other person's argument is kind of like, they lose it, right? And they don't have much depth to it, because they actually haven't really thought about it themselves. All they've done is they've taken sound bites that other people have fed them, like social media, news, etc. And now they're kind of regurgitating that, and they don't really kind of necessarily know exactly what they're speaking about. So you can find out very quickly, what someone really thinks by just asking them a few questions. And then the challenge is to kind of, I guess, in that situation, if you do it and you find the other person starting to get a little bit defensive because they know that they don't know what they're talking about, then you just have to kind of, I guess, be the bigger person, keep a moral high ground, and, not let that conversation go south, because they can easily go south. But then, they know, and that's cool. And then just leave the sort of situation and realize, okay, cool, I'm actually your friend. I'm not your enemy. I'm actually your friend because we have the same values. We have the same kind of morals. Maybe not all of them, but you kind of see eye to eye, say on, 50 to 80% of them. And that's a good number. And that's why you really are friends, because, you have those same sort of values and morals, and you like just hanging out with each other. And yeah, but we mustn't let the politics and everything else get in the way, because it's really doing us all no good whatsoever, right? So I really encourage everyone to do that. And yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's not the easiest thing to do at all. But it's also a good way to grow yourself and to just be kind of a better person, to realize that you also need to have your own kind of arguments well kind of versed. And yeah, it's just it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to put in the time and effort sometimes to learn about these things. Yeah, in my opinion. And the second thing that I would like to talk about in today's show is that two things can be right at the same time, right? And this was a lesson that I kind of learned, and really kind of recently myself, by a guy called Justin Welsh, and it was in one of his newsletters. And it really got me kind of thinking, like, is that true? And my initial reaction was like, no, not really, and when you have a reaction like that, you kind of almost need to go, okay, cool, why am I reacting like this? Why am I kind of like saying no? Why am I giving resistance? And that's often when you kind of need to look in and to understand yourself a little bit better, and to go, okay, there's something here. I need to kind of check myself out a little bit. And yeah, I literally was like, cool, let me think about this. And he had some good examples. I can't remember the examples from his newsletter, but ever since I read that and I sort of sat with it, it's actually really helped me just be, I guess, more calm in terms of, sometimes you scroll social media and you end up reading a whole load of stuff that you disagree with completely. But if you take the approach that, okay, cool, maybe two things can be true at the same time, then I don't know, it just makes everything a hell of a lot easier to kind of like sort of let come into your mind, and to manage. And I think that's kind of one of the challenges that we're all going through at the moment, is like our kind of nervous systems are on edge because we're spending probably too much time using technology. We are, again, so divided. And the more tools we can use to help us understand ourselves and also the world and world views, the sort of more relaxed, calm, aligned, etc. we can be, and really react to situations better. but mostly help us understand the world better, because that's a really important thing, you know, that we realize that we are living such different realities. We have access to so much information. Most of it we shouldn't really know, and yeah, we just need to work out how best to kind of disseminate that, what to use, what not to use. Is this helping me? Is it not? And it's a challenge, because technology is really kind of, in a way, in its kind of infancy, really. And our minds are so primitive in many ways that we're unable to sort of process all this information that we're receiving on a day-to-day basis. And so anyway, that's a thing that really helps me, you know. And maybe like an example, like let's use an example. So where two things can be true at once. Okay, so and it might be a terrible example, but hopefully you kind of get the gist. Like, think about, say, Donald Trump, right? So the guy, is he a narcissist? Yeah, okay, let's say he is. Okay, he's a serious narcissist. He's interested in how he is perceived, and typical kind of narcissist behavior, right? But is he also a good guy? Like, is he interested in other people and helping other people? Well, I mean, if you search online enough, you'll see there's enough videos of people talking about him, talking about, his dad, his family, how he's helped other people, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, he is interested in helping other people too. So he's not like a complete narcissist. Do you know what I mean? And this is also where the challenge is with this sort of thing, is that it's very hard for the mind to comprehend that two things can be true at the same time, especially because, we're really emotional beings, and we react emotionally to things that we hear, and things that we disagree with. So this is a challenge, but it's a good challenge to kind of like have to deal with yourself and to think about. So yeah, that's kind of one example. And I guess the next one, maybe an example, is like, you might totally disagree with kind of someone's behavior, but that doesn't mean that they don't have like good things still to say, right? It's maybe not the best sort of example, but it gives you kind of an idea, right? And it's kind of a nice sort of segue as well, because the last thing that I want to talk about is there was a guy who recently posted a video on X, and this guy's name is Andrew Tate, right? And if you've heard of him, and you kind of see what he does and heard about the things that he does, you'd probably want to distance yourself from him as a person, and that's totally fair enough, right? It's also sometimes hard to know like what's true and what's not true, like what the media is saying, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyway, the guy, he's definitely, I guess, sort of divisive, and people have polar opposite views of him, but he actually does still have a lot of good things to say, and that's what I'm interested really, personally myself. Like, I'm interested in listening to people from all walks of life who have totally different views to me, totally different, even values, morals, like, I'm just listening to them at the end of the day. Like, what can actually hurt if you listen to somebody? You never know what you're going to find out, right? And I think if we don't listen to people that we don't like, that becomes quite dangerous. And that's also not a good place to go. So we have to test ourselves and listen to people that, we might not agree with, we might not agree with their behavior, we might not agree with what they say, but it's still important to listen to them, because you never know what you're going to learn, and they might actually have some really interesting things to say, and you might find them helpful, right? So this particular video, like, I actually found very very helpful myself, and I think all of us can actually learn a lot from it, especially because just of the times that we're living in with technology, right? So I've taken a bit of a sort of bit of what he said, like I've scripted it out, and I'll read it out and then maybe provide a bit of my own commentary, so you can, you can maybe learn as well from what he has to say, because I think it's more relevant now than basically anything. Okay, so I'll say when I'm reading out what he said, and then I'll provide my own commentary, just so you can kind of keep track. So he says, our technology has been replaced, and we're living in this new prison. This prison of algorithms are designed to keep us addicted for as long as possible because it makes the elites extremely rich. Have you noticed how interested you are in politics or crises, trying to understand all things that are happening all around the world? You're very concerned about bombing in Cambodia, even though you're nowhere near Cambodia. And this is it's so important, right? Like this is my commentary now, right? You're inundated with information, like literally on a daily basis. And this is one of the downfalls of kind of globalism and information and everything, is that you literally have so much of it available. And, your feed is just designed to kind of keep you in fear. You'll see he talks about this now himself. But you're checking stuff on the Ukraine war, you're checking stuff on Israel and Hamas, you're checking stuff on, okay, cool, the American government shutting down, don't know, wherever you are in the world, the UK, the digital ID, the South Africa, the crime in South Africa, Australia, also like sort of authoritarianism government, you're hearing about climate change and like everything, like it's just like so much information, and literally I would say 99.9% of it is not good information, and it's not helping you. And do you even need to know about it? Like he said, do you need to know about what's going on in Thailand and Cambodia right now, like on the borders? No, you don't need to know about that. Your body is not designed, your mind is not designed for that. So you have this primitive mind, and also it's such a massive distraction from like things that you should be doing, You should be focusing on your family, you should be focusing on you should be focusing on building something, you should be focusing on getting fit, you should be focusing on having fun. But all these things are draining your energy, they're taking away your time. And yeah, I mean, it's all because of a phone that's now in your hand that's able to access anything and everything that you kind of want. So yeah. Anyway, returning back to what he was saying, he says, you feel like you have enough information. You feel like if you have enough information, you can be one step ahead of the game, right? The USA is losing the global reserve currency. Crime is out of control. The borders are open. The elections are fake. And the judicial system is rigged. Everything is a mess. So you feel like if you get enough information, you can at least be ahead of the game. And it's interesting, I think that's what some people feel. They're like, oh, well, if I know this, then I can do this. And if I know this, then I can do this. And that's what it's about. It's like this sort of battle that's going on. But yeah, once again, I think it's just a massive distraction from things that you can really be focusing on in your real kind of close vicinity, yourself, your family, your friends. And, yeah, it's a massive distraction. And there's so much stuff that you can't actually do anything about, unfortunately, and I'm not saying you need to sit with your head in the sand, because that's not helpful either. We still need to provide resistance to a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world. But you kind of need to pick and choose your battles at the same time as well. So carrying on with what he was saying, yes, it's chaos, but if you know enough things, you can survive. But because of that, you have this constant sense of endless anxiety, trying to get as much information as possible and being concerned about events all around the world. You are stressed and anxious. This technological prison, this algorithm enslavement, has got everybody's brains in a permanent dopamine loop. And the reason it's so destructive is because it's replaced our innate God-given technology, because our God-given technology is chemical-based. we are chemical beings. Chemical biology and chemicals make us feel things. Love is a chemical. Happiness is a chemical. Wow, that's it's so true. You know, like the amount of people that are literally stressed out, fearful, anxious, worried about what might happen, you know, and most of it will probably not happen too. But you're getting worried and stressed out about it. It's just like such a terrible state to live in, you know. And one of the things that they say as well is that stress is such a huge cause of disease. And I think that's one of the things that's adding to so many people being sick in the world, you know, especially your mental health, is like this constant state of stress and anxiety. And it's not helping anybody, you know, like we're not taking enough sort of care for the information that is coming into our minds, and it literally is toxic, you know. So you have to do your best to filter the information that you are taking in as much as possible, because I'm telling you, it can send you down a really dark path and literally kind of destroy you, right? So yeah, very, very important thing for all of us to sort of be conscious of. So carrying on with what he says, and before we had all these algorithms permanently attacking our consciousness, before our psyche was under endless bombardment, before we were addicted to trying to get as much information as possible to try and plan for a million future maybe events, we had the ability to control and regulate our own emotions much better. So true. I mean, just think about like most people's routines these days. Like, I'm sure most people wake up and the first thing that they do is they check their phone. And honestly, that is the worst way in the world to kind of start your day, because you're woken up, you're like all groggy, and you're definitely not in the greatest of kind of states to receive information. That's for sure. Especially like bad information. You know, if it's like a horrible text from someone in your family, or if it's a message from your boss, like something that you did wrong, or I don't know, maybe you're on social media and you just end up scrolling for like 10 minutes before you actually get out of bed. And then, you know, we all know most of social media is kind of negative news. And then you kind of woken up in this like terrible state. And now you've got to sort of tackle your day. And that's how you've started it. It's literally, you know, you're doomed when you do that. And I think that is literally the worst way you can begin your day, and probably one of the worst things you can do. And I highly encourage every single person to, if possible, turn your phone off for like phone off. I mean, in terms of like, I mean, like, you know, your 5G and your Wi-Fi and stuff. Don't receive information for like the first hour that you wake up, and you'll feel like a different person. I'm not even joking. You'll feel like you're kind of invincible when you do eventually turn on your phone and you receive those negative messages that you would have got anyway. You're just in a better mental state, in a better capacity to handle them. You know, maybe because you've woken up and you've had a nice cup of coffee and you've gone outside and you've listened to the birds chirp, or you've gone for a run, or just hung out with your kids or something like that. You've allowed yourself to kind of have time for yourself. And now you're kind of ready for this kind of bombardment of information. So yeah, again, absolutely crazy. And then he carries on, right? He goes, you know, before phones, you could just smile yourself happy. You could just start smiling and just look outside and go, it's a nice day. Nothing's blown up here, and you can just be happy. Most people can't do that anymore, and it's such like an important life skill. The world has always been ending. The sky has always been falling. There's always been some version of the world will never be the same again, which will never be the same again. I'm sure in World War II, people thought that humanity and society would never recover. It's always felt this way, and it's always going to feel this way. And I think, yeah, that's part of the kind of reality that we need to try and understand, is that the history repeats. The world has actually kind of always been the same. But the problem now is that we have so much access to information at the sort of end of our fingertips that we're under this constant bombardment, and it feels like everything is way worse than it ever has been. And that's not necessarily true. The true thing is that we have too much information, and it's too negative, and it's causing us to think that it is the end of the world, when actually there's also probably just as many good things that are going on in the world. But our algorithms choose not to sort of show us that. So we're in this constant fear, constant place of being divided amongst each other, and nervous about possible events, and therefore again also distracted. When you're not in a good state mentally, you just don't function that well, you don't operate that well. So let's carry on with what he says, right? He says, so you need to be happy for yourself and be happy. So you need to be happy for yourself. Okay. You have to regain control, and you have to regain control over the chemical reactions in your brain, as opposed to outsourcing influence over those chemical reactions to an algorithm which is designed to enslave you. Put your phone away, go for a walk. As soon as you get a phone, you lose your imagination. You can't imagine as much as you used to, can you? You're losing your humanity to the algorithm, to the matrix, to the slavery machine, and its only intention is to make you sad. That's the only thing it's trying to do. And it's very hard to argue with what he's saying, right? I mean, you should test yourself, to not use your phone. Put it down and go, okay, cool, I'm not going to use it for an hour. I'm not even joking. You will soon realize that you have this urge to reach out for it and go, oh, let me just quickly check this. Let me just quickly check that. And it's crazy how addictive these things are. And that's part of the problem, And when he says we're losing our imagination, that's what he means as well. Instead of, say, going outside or thinking, oh, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to let my mind just kind of wander, instead of, going to do paint something or draw something or build something, you are constantly putting your arm out for your phone because that is the easy option, right? So that's why we're losing our imagination. We're not doing things that we are actually designed to do. And this is not healthy, once again. None of it is healthy, especially when you think of us collectively as a species. Man, if we're all just checking our phones all the time, we're all just sort of constantly logged in as a majority, and we're not sort of doing things that are good for ourselves, like building and drawing and walking or whatever, then we're doomed, right? So we need to somehow break this cycle, and the only way to do it is to be disciplined, to put the phones away, to practice not using them, to creating some stuff for ourselves, and just to be, ruthlessly disciplined with the type of information that we allow into our minds. So let's just, I think it's almost, so it's almost finished here. Let me just finish off what he says. He says, you need to regain control of yourself. There's nothing more important. And if you continue to allow these algorithms to control your emotional state, if you continue to allow them to suck every single bit of human energy you have, and to be concerned about issues that truthfully you can't affect, or possible events in the future that may not even happen at all, then I guarantee you'll be shaped into nothing more than a slave. Their intention with these algorithms, their intention with controlling your attention span for all this time is only to make you a slave. All they want to do is make you a slave. The only way they can't is if you decide to be happy no matter what and stop playing the game. So, like I said, the only way you beat this is by having sort of tools in place, good habits that you sort of fill your time with. And to kind of also, I mean, first you have to also realize that you are sort of trapped, right? And you have to get out of that trap. So you need to realize how trapped you are. Like I said, do that experiment with your phone. If you can go longer for a day, wow, then you are the top 1% in the world. So yeah, all of us are kind of relying on each other. Okay. I don't think we realize this enough. It's quite obvious now in the world, unless you're living under a hole somewhere, under a rock, under a rock, you'll see that the powers that be it governments or whoever looks after them, that they are clamping down as much as possible on us, and they're wanting to digitally enslave you and me and all of us together, so that we don't really have the ability to express ourselves, to do what we want, to spend our money how we want. If we're not realizing these things, and we don't sort of provide resistance soon enough, it's going to be too late. So yeah, do your best. As a collective, we need to come together. We need to listen to our differences. We need to understand that we're actually on this planet together at this time for a reason, and I truly feel that reason is to create a better world than the direction it seems it's going in. And the only way we do that is by maybe having these discussions and allowing ourselves to listen and to, ultimately push back. Anyway, that's my podcast today. I kind of know it's almost a bit ironic that I'm obviously going to be posting this on social media and telling you not to spend much time on it, but that's just kind of sometimes the way of the world. And when it comes to, like I said, filtering information, filter good information into life, because there is a lot of good use of information that you can do, online too. So we just have to become super disciplined with that. Anyway, again, love to hear your feedback. If you totally disagree with me, I love to hear your feedback even more. Please reach out to me. If you're on my newsletter, then reply to my emails. If you've got my telephone number, even better, drop me a message. And if you're reading this, I don't know, or listening to it online, whatever, just I'm available in most places. Just drop me a message. And I really, I want to hear from you. I want to help make the world a better place. I want us to come together to, like I said, we're all here at this specific point in time for something great. And let's make it great. Thank you.